and my heart started racing. I was flushed and I started crying, and I was just like, I just can't talk about this. I don't know what, like, kind of turned it on him. What is it you want, attacking him?
My dad was, when he was 10 years old, would go knocking on the neighbour's door to see if they had any food. I'm talking like poor, like nothing.
If you don't shine a light on some of this stuff, it runs you. You're just run by it. You run by it.
Hi, and welcome to Accelerating Your Wealth with your host, myself, Rebecca Robertson. I'm an independent financial advisor and wealth coach. I'm the director of Evolution Financial Planning, who is also our sponsor for today's show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and review this episode. With your help, we'll reach more people who can benefit from the show. Are you enjoying the shows? If you are and there's more you want to listen to, then check out our quiz. You'll find the link below. You can fill out these questions and it will basically tell you what area of your finances you should focus on. So it might be business, it might be you're getting divorced, it might be investing. There's about 9 categories. And what it will give you is a playlist to the relevant categories of all the shows we've done that apply to that area and that subject. So what it allows you to do is super fast learn about the subject that you need to know super quick without having to scroll through about over 130 episodes currently. So I hope you find that helpful, and do let us know your feedback leave us a review via your preferred platform. Thanks. Welcome back to part 2. I'm here with Rose, and we've been talking about how we measure ourselves, our self-worth, and around investing in your self-worth. Now, we've had a fantastic conversation so far talking about that past consciousness around the decisions that have been made so far in Rose's life. And I'm now going to skip ahead a little bit, and we talked a little about education and how all that self-worth is wrapped up in our children and how we're pushing our children and children's education. But let's move the conversation on. And you started to become more aware and you started to do a lot more self-development, and you then actually moved in from away from being a teacher into being a coach yourself. Yeah. And that in itself meant you had to unpick a lot of this. Yeah. And it was that investing in yourself that you started to realise actually there was things to unpick. And we described it on our call before, that it was almost like a door that appeared all of a sudden in a wall. The wall, you didn't even know it was there before. And the door, you didn't even know there was even a door could appear. Yeah. And it was just like this moment where you had this realisation. Yeah. Was there a particular incident that meant that you recognised there was something there that you didn't know was there before? Yeah,
I mean, specifically around finances, I think this bit around like where I had my financial worth really tied up with my self-worth. Yeah. And I just didn't have a clue that this was a thing. As I was self-employed, I set myself up as a coach. So I received some coaching, realised through the process was like, that's what I loved and that's what I wanted to do. Set myself up, moved out of teaching, transitioned out. And about 1.5 years into the experience, my husband and I needed to remortgage on our house. So we were really fortunate that we'd sold our flat and had bought a house in Salisbury where we'd moved to. And I always had in the back of my mind, like, oh my gosh, because we'd bought the flat on both our salaries and we'd bought the house on both our salaries, because I was still working at that point in teaching. And then when it came to remortgaging, in the back of my mind was, well, now I'm self-employed and the rules are going to be different, but I didn't really know what, and so I did that classic thing that people do. I didn't really look into it. I just got worried about it. And so we stood in the kitchen talking about this, and my husband said to me, oh, we need to have a conversation about remortgaging. And my heart started racing. I was flushed and I started crying, and I was just like, I just can't talk about this. I don't know what, like, kind of turned it on him. What is it you want, attacking him? And he sort of looked at me and said, okay, you really need to get over this, because we've got to have a conversation about this. She's like, I don't really get what's going on. And I sort of came to myself, realised that, oh, hold on a second. And I paused and I looked him dead in the eye and said, first thing, you make a terrible coach. But secondly,
get over yourself.
Yeah, you're completely spot on. I do need to get over this. Like, this isn't me. This is my fear, my money fear talking. And I realised everything kind of unravelled, and what was behind, there's two things. One, there was a door of opportunity, but there was also, next to that door was like almost like the understairs cupboard where I'd been shoving all my money story, my concerns about how much I was actually contributing to our family, what it meant about me as a woman, what it meant about me as a well-educated person, what it meant about me as a worker, someone who'd had this identity of I work hard, and here I was working hard and I wasn't bringing in the finances that I'd been bringing in before. And so the unpicking was all of that, and realising that the first place I looked at was like, well, what does it mean for me to contribute here? What does success actually mean in our family as a unit, not just me individually, because that's where I've been coming from before. Success means getting a promotion, means getting a bit of a pay rise, and now success meant something different. We've got 2 kids. It meant spending time with them. That was worth more than a few, some extra pounds in the bank. We weren't paying for childcare anymore. We were taking the kids to school and picking them up. I was much more available. I was much happier. My relationship with my children had massively improved, particularly my eldest. She's very much a mirror to where I am. So she was far more settled because I was more settled. All these pieces I started to name and have language for and look at, and also be able to then talk to my partner about the mortgage and understand these terms and what it actually meant, rather than burying my head.
Did you feel pressured because you, like, from an income perspective, because of having accounts?
Not pressure so much from that. Like, I was okay with the process. It was more that I've started a new business, and I knew how to coach. Like, I created clients quite early on. I met people who wanted to work with me, but charging, I'd never had to do that before. Like, saying what I wanted people to pay in order to work with me, like the whole business side of things, that was completely new, and that was quite a steep learning curve for me, and it is for many coaches.
And that does feed back into that self-worth, doesn't it? Because you're valued what you're giving, right?
And being able to quantify that with people. Yeah. And when you first start...
But that's hard to do for anybody.
It's hard to do for anyone. And when you first start, particularly, there's a lot of conversation. What's it worth?
If you're somebody that is not sure what to do with their finances, maybe you're working and you're not sure what to do with the bonuses you've got at work, or maybe you started a business and you've got profits and you're not sure what you should be doing to enable you to A, pay yourself more, or B, potentially retire earlier. Maybe you're somebody that's thinking about, do I overpay on the mortgage? You've received some inheritance. You've got lots of questions around your finances and what to do next. Then check out Evolution Financial Planning, who are regulated independent financial advisors and financial planners that can help you make some of those big decisions in life.
Is it worth this?
It's only once you've got so many testimonials, or you've done so much work, that you can then be confident to run and say it's this much.
Exactly.
And I've had people pay it, and I know the results they've had, and they've said it was worth value. Right. That I now feel that I can ethically and say with real conviction, this is what I'm worth. But when you first start out, that's very difficult.
It's really hard, and I found it hard, as many do. And the thing that I've also what's really shifted throughout all of this is seeing how also none of it's to do with me. And I think that's been what's been quite interesting as well, that how someone shows up into a coaching conversation with me is I've got real leverage and agency there about how they create themselves as my client, if that makes sense. Because someone could come into a coaching conversation and pay a certain amount of money and still be like, go on then. Fix me, do the thing. And well, I mean, no, it's very unlikely that anyone will get to that point because you'd have sort of filtered them out earlier on. There wouldn't be any chemistry, or it probably wouldn't work. But, you know, you do come across people like that. And then they're sort of saying, well, coaching doesn't work. It's BS.
Yeah.
And so it's been really interesting, just like the nuances of that, of the buyer's journey, of supporting people, seeing how they create themselves. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And so how did you get over, once that landed, that conversation, and you started to name things, that whole, you know, your self-worth being wrapped up on what's in the bank account and how you're spending your time, your mother, the value of you as a mother and a partner. How did you start to unpick that?
I started reading a book that I found really helpful. Was a book called called Overcoming Underearning by Barbara Stanny. And so really recognizing that I had many of the characteristics of being an underearner, and I have for a really long time. Because if I often had been, it didn't matter what I was being paid, I was always working hard, and hard meant long hours, meant putting in. I wasn't able to
mean more. It just meant harder work.
Right, exactly. And so there was a lot around being smarter, being more efficient. But also seeing where a lot of those narratives have come from, the stories that come from innocently from my family, and unpicking and unpacking a lot of that. So what really supported me was having a very honest conversation with my mum, who is one of the most financially astute people that I've ever met. Knows her incoming, her outgoing. She's managed all the family money forever. And I didn't realise how financially astute she was and how on it she was until we had this conversation a couple of years ago, when I was starting to go in and trying to understand, like, well, where is all this sort of being so tight and afraid of money come from in me? And she was like, oh, that's your father. Like, he wouldn't look at it.
Yeah, I love it how those parents we like blame the other half. Like it's your dad. It's your dad's fault.
It's your dad. But sort of seeing that, and her sort of saying how she managed the money because he wasn't able to look at it, because there was so much story in there for him from his experience growing up through one thing or another. And then I spoke to my dad's sister about it, and understanding all of that, not to point fingers, but just to kind of get an idea of the landscape.
Nuances, aren't they?
Totally.
Very small nuances.
Totally.
But actually, when you unpick those 5, 6, 7 little things, it just lands, and it just, I don't know, I'm not saying it disappears, but it just gives you a perspective.
Exactly.
Like my dad recently wrote a book about his life, and I read some of it. It's not finished yet, and I realised how poor he was growing up. He was born in Scotland. My granddad worked in a coal mine, and when there was a coal mine accident, he was unable to work.
Right.
They had nothing. And they moved to Kent and moved in with family into a spare room. I don't even know if it was a spare room, because they had nothing in Scotland. And, you know, they didn't have Christmas presents. They didn't have birthday presents. They would, you know, my dad was, when he was 10 years old, would go knocking on the neighbour's door to see if they had any food. I'm talking like poor,
nothing,
like nothing. And when he used to say, oh, I didn't grow up with much.
And it's all relative. You realise the relativeness.
Wow, what does that actually mean? Yeah. And now I understand how actually that meant. Yeah. So yeah, that those nuances, those details matter.
Yeah. And I think what we don't realise, or certainly what I didn't realise, and what I now work with others to help them see, is that it's those nuances that determine the identity that you're innocently living into. Because if you don't shine a light on some of this stuff, it runs you. You're just run by it. You're run by it.
But it's a story that you don't even know you're playing.
Completely.
Like it's like that subconscious that we've described. Completely. And that door arrives and you open it, and it can be overwhelming when people open those doors.
It can be, yeah.
Because then they need to be able to talk it through in the right way. Exactly.
And I think that's where having space or support, or a trusted person, be it a coach or a friend. I mean, I've been able to talk to some of my friends about this, even actually talking to my mum about it has been incredibly helpful, because we are now when she talks about, because obviously she has her will, her power of attorney, all this stuff completely laid out. My dad died a few years ago, so it was always laid out anyway because she had it all sorted. But being able to talk to her about that in a very practical way it's not loaded, and it's brought all this being able to talk about money in a much more neutral way. Like it doesn't. What tends to happen, or what was happening for me before, was we would talk about money, and there was all this meaning making that would go on in my mind, like what it meant about me, about my worth, about my value, about who I was, and now it's become much more neutral because it is simply a number. It's something that represents an exchange of energy, if you like.
So for somebody like myself, where I recognise all of this, and I recognise I started to get sort of double figures into my bank account, and I felt like I had to spend it really quickly.
Right.
I don't know, like it was going to disappear.
Right.
Or like make the most of it while it's there.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, like I'm uncomfortable with having lots of money in my bank account. I need to make it disappear, kind of thing, by spending it.
Right.
So what? Just as we finish up and round up the conversation, what top tips would you give somebody about enhancing into their next level to make that next level more comfortable?
Yeah,
what questions should they ask?
Well, the first thing I'd say is like really tell the truth, right, about yourself. And one way to do that is, and I found this quite confronting, and some people know this, but I certainly didn't, and most people I speak to don't, is to actually write out where all your money is. Where's your debt? How much is it? What do you owe on what? Where have you got savings? Where don't you? What are the actual numbers? And have it all in black and white. And because what we tend to do is just live in a story of what we think is there, or what we imagine is there, or what we wish was there. And so having it all in black and white, that can be deeply confronting and also uncomfortable for people. But that's once you start telling the truth, you then have got something to work with. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I think is really useful is, and again, it's not a question, it's an exercise, is to start understanding what your money story is to simply write out money is, and do it about 10 to 15 times and just finish that sentence. Money is, and just write whatever comes up. And that can be incredibly revealing as to what are some of the stories that are on the wallpaper of your life. And I have a couple of other exercises as well, but those are the two things that that can make a massive difference to people, just to reveal what's going on, how does that feel in their body, and what kind of stories are they running, or people innocently running that may be running their lives.
Amazing. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Obviously in the show notes I'll be putting links to your website so people can get in touch with you if they want to work with you. But have you got anything that you want to, like, is there an easy way for people to get in touch with you? Have you got like a freebie or like a guide or anything that I could direct people to? I've put together those money exercises actually, so I'm happy to share that on a PDF so people can have a look at that. That'd be great, thank you. So you can have a look at that and get going with some sort of reflection questions afterwards. And the best way to get in touch with me is on LinkedIn. There I'm talking about some things about finances, but also mostly about leadership as well. Leadership, yes. And how you show up in all things in life is how you reflect everything, your job, your relationships. It reflects everywhere. So it's been fantastic. And thank you for sharing your story and being so open and honest about all of it, because that's what this show for me is what it's all about, is having these honest conversations so that other people can listen and go, oh, that's me. Oh, I'm doing that. And that's the only way I believe that we can evolve and grow together. Amazing. So thank you. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Please like and subscribe. So go, whatever platform you're on, go to the button where it says subscribe. So YouTube, iTunes, please subscribe. It does make a big difference. And do share the show and let me know if you've got any questions, because we might be able to play it on Ask Becky Anything when we do our next recording. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us today at Accelerating Your Wealth with your host, myself, Rebecca Robertson. I hope you enjoyed the show. Do subscribe and let us know in the comments any of your thoughts.